Hello, this is Kelly Medwick, and I am about to present to you some great ideas for social media as part of Elevate20. This is a whole new way of delivering content. So hang with me here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we will start the presentation. Hopefully you can still see me in the top corner just so you don't get too bored looking at static slides. So today is Social Media 101 for childcare providers. And a little bit about me if you haven't met me before. My day job, I work for Firespring as Chief Business Development Officer. One of my favorite things to do is coach a variety of businesses, brands, and nonprofits on how to generate revenue, how to make their marketing more effective, and basically how to remove all the roadblocks to growth. That's what I just love to do in my profession and then also personally. So I'm going to give you some information right at the end of this presentation that will allow you to reach out to me. And I actually have some tools that I can share with you as well. So what are we going to do today? What I want to do, especially because I admire childcare providers so much. My sister works in early childhood education and special education, and I know how busy, number one, most individuals are who are providing these services, and two, I know that none of you got into this work in order to manage social media. What you really love to do is provide an amazing service and connect with your families and kids. And so I want to make social media one of those things you can kind of just check off on your to-do list, and it's something you took care of, and it helps work for you in terms of growing your footprint, your support, and your impact as either a nonprofit or for-profit, however you may be operating as a child care provider. So I want to make this easy as ABC, and that is going to be a little memory device that we're going to use throughout this presentation. I'm going to touch on your website. So whether you have one or not, I want to talk about what's important and what's essential. Either if you are thinking about putting up a website or if you already have one and want to improve it. And I want to talk about your voice as a thought leader. You may not think of yourself as a thought leader today, but after this, I'd like you to be able to connect with that voice and know how that you can use your voice to build your audience and build support around you. I'm going to focus mostly on Facebook when it comes to social media because that is where I see most child care providers exist, but I'm also going to make some really strong recommendations on LinkedIn so that you're positioning yourself as an organization or business owner, and you're connecting with other professionals that really could help impact your organization's growth. I'm also going to touch on Instagram just really quickly, and then I'm going to show you an example of a social media calendar and planner, and then some powerful no-cost or low-cost online tools that can help you keep all of your social media content flowing without it taking a lot of time for you. And then just some action steps and Q&A, which Q&A will have to happen. I will give you my contact info and you will be able to reach out to me and ask all kinds of questions. I'll also offer anybody who participates in this a free 30-minute session if you just want to talk about your challenges with social media and marketing and websites. I would just love to connect with anybody who has taken the time. So I said I was going to make it as easy as ABC, and I meant it. So this is an easy way to remember why engage in social media. What are you trying to do? Really, it's all about creating awareness. That's your A. You want to build your brand. That's your B. And you want to convert. That's your C. And when I say, let's go back just a second there, create awareness, that one's pretty obvious. If people don't know about you, you want to make sure that the audiences you most want to engage know that you're there. The B, build your brand. That's kind of all about your voice that I was talking about, and your voice as a thought leader. so that people know how you are unique from other childcare providers and what is it that you offer. And that will help you attract the clientele or the donors, or if you're looking for board members, whatever it is, whoever it is that you need to engage, it will bring the right people to the fold, not be so much work to go out there and find them on your own. They'll kind of find you. And then convert, that is making it easy for people when they want to engage with you to just take that action. In marketing speak, that's called a conversion. So if I want to send out a message and see if there are parents looking for what I'm offering, I want to make it quick and easy for them to reach out to me. And if I put the right tools out there, they'll get to me. And that's what I mean by conversion. We'll get into this a little deeper by the end, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse of, once we get through this, what you'll be able to do just in terms of planning out your posts. And that ABC, that is how I recommend childcare providers organize their content: by awareness posts, brand building posts, and conversion posts. So you either want to make people aware, you want them to dig deeper and deepen their understanding, or you want them to take an action, A, B, or C. So let's start with your website. That's the front door of your business or organization. And I've got 5 elements here of a powerful and engaging web presence. Boy, that's hard to say, that I want to talk to you about. So just to get started, navigation options. If you end up using a website service that comes with some pre-designed templates or tools, most of the time they will recommend pretty basic navigation. And I always say, try to stick with basic, not too many links along that top. If you are noticing people on your current website get lost, or that it just seems like there's just a lot of clutter, a lot of times people try to put every single thing in their navigation. So you don't want to do that. You just want to have nice, clean navigation that tells people what you're all about, how to find out more about you, and how to take those actions. So just keeping it simple, that structure. And then when people first arrive, I always say, it's a little bit like a date. Like if you sat down with somebody, you're not going to tell them your entire life story the first time you sit down with them. So when they first get to your website, like not too much information. You just want some nice, bright images. If your children or families are open to allowing you to use some photography, if you get permissions on that, and that's something I can give you tips on if you need it. It's great to have really bright, great photography that kind of communicates the feel of your organization or your business. And then you want a nice headline, basically something that just gets to the point so that they don't get lost. When you go deeper onto a homepage, usually that's where you start to see the deep, diverse content. So that is, tell me a little bit more about your overall program. What kind of events do you hold? What's the curriculum like? So things that are going to take a little bit more time to explain and go deeper. Those are things that kind of pull people in and help build that brand, as we were talking about. And with most websites, you will have a content management system built in that will allow you to pop that content into the right places. And then functional tools that engage your visitors. So if you are going to have a parent night, for example, just having an easy form that you create, especially for that parent night, that if you're trying to get people to act on that they can kind of take that action, fill out a quick form, and then RSVP, and you'll know that they're going to be there. So just making sure that it's easy for your repeat users and then new users to be able to take the actions that you're going to want and that they want to take. And then weekly updated news and events. I highly recommend these, even if you're a pretty small provider. I would still always have something just to show what's coming up this week. I know you have to be careful about how much information you share, but just some high level information about what's going on, or a fun field trip that you had. Just sharing that, because it shows vitality, and actually helps you also on your search and your Google rankings if you have more relevant information on your homepage. So when you are looking at each page of your website, if you have a current site or you're building a new one, what I strongly recommend is that you think of every page, other than the homepage, which is going to kind of lay the roadmap for all that you have to offer. What you really want on your web pages is for it to have a primary objective. So, and guess what? It's no surprise what one of those objectives should be. It should either be, this page helps build awareness, or this page helps build brand. So that's like supporting content that answers a lot of questions that your constituents, your clients may have, or it's there to convert. So it's really simple, and it makes it easy for someone to take the action that you want once they get to that page. So this is just to illustrate how many ways people actually get to somebody's website. So there's so many different avenues. If you already have Facebook, they might be getting to you that way. Through search engines, you might have even sent, sometimes, a lot of times it's offline. Maybe there was a flyer, or you sent out a letter or a postcard. Email, blog posts, directories. There's so many different ways to get to your website. What's become much more common and really great practice versus taking everyone always to your homepage is when those messages have a very specific call to action that you want, whether it is just raising awareness or it's having someone sign up for something. You don't always want to go direct to the homepage. Sometimes what you want to do is go to a landing page and have people go to a page that is very specific to whatever was described, either in that Facebook post, in the letter, the flyer, or the email. And that, again, allows people to take a quicker action and not have to find their way in order to take that action. People are pretty impatient and pretty busy nowadays, so they don't take a ton of time to find things unless they're really, really, really looking. So it's a potential to lose someone if you don't make those actions really, really easy and clear. So what is a landing page? Because I just threw that out there. So that just means if you end up on somebody's website that the action is really obvious and it leads the person to take either a very simple action or just take in very specific information. So I'll give you an example. I know KinderCare is a pretty large organization, so they have a large national presence and website. When you first go to their main website, it will only ask you for your zip code. So I'm not getting lost yet. I'm not really even learning that much about KinderCare. I just know the brand name, and it's directing me to my local KinderCare resources. Then I was able to click further in, and I chose West AA Street KinderCare. And from there, if I just said, hey, I just want to know about the tuition and the openings, where it took me is just this basically floods the entire screen. It's just a contact form, and it's basically saying, hey, if you have questions about our tuition or you want to know about our openings, submit your info and we'll get right back to you. So again, I don't have to look for it. I'm not searching for days and days. Now, a great way for a more local organization to handle that might be that you have a little bit more information. But for a bigger entity like this, they know that the way to get the person to the center director fastest is just by taking the information and have that person reach out. And that's easy enough to do. whether you're a large organization or small. So I will talk a little bit about your voice, because that's important to establish before you really start digging in to social media, and to start thinking of yourself as a thought leader. So what does that mean? It's one whose views on a subject are taken to be authoritative and influential. So you may think, well, I don't know, I've never really thought of myself as a thought leader. I own a business, and it's this type of business. Well, there are always things from your experience that that you bring to the table, that are going to be relevant to others. And that's where expressing your thoughts, your ideas, and using social media as a primary platform to do that helps establish you as someone who others can listen to and learn from. And that's really the most important thing. I like to point out that thought leadership is a commitment. So it's not a campaign. You're not putting your thoughts out there just so that you hook people. That's not the goal. The goal of sharing your insights, your thoughts, sharing articles that mean something to you, sharing research about early childhood development, that all is just providing value to everyone around you. So I think it has the ability to help other people, but it also builds and establishes your voice and your brand. So it's almost like what you collect and what you read, what you think about and value. Sharing that will help bring others who share those values to you. And that's what social media is all about. So now we're here, social media for your business or nonprofit organization. If you are operating as a nonprofit, I'm kind of going to ping pong back and forth, but everything I'm sharing here would apply to either, whether you're a nonprofit center or you're for-profit. Where I'm going to focus most is on Facebook. That is the platform where child care centers have, I think, the most success and the largest presence. Other more emerging social media platforms can be used to pull younger audiences in, but for the most part, I would say for the next decade at least, you can rely on Facebook as one that will help connect you to people who are going to need childcare services. I'm also going to talk about LinkedIn because that will help establish you with your professional networks and even stretch out beyond other providers or organizations that work in early childhood, but other companies. That could be an amazing source of referrals if you're able to tap into local companies that have employees who need to find childcare. So making those kinds of connections, LinkedIn is great for that. And then I'll touch on Instagram because it is very popular, and it's being used in some ways. What a lot of parents will do is they have an Instagram account, but they also have Facebook, and they post to Facebook through Instagram. So it's important to know how that works. So I don't know, you may not have invested in setting up a Facebook account for yourself. But that is, if you have not done that, you can set up, I do know at this point you can create pages just for a business, but Facebook really wants to have you set up an account. So you will need an email or phone number, and then set up your own password, and then it'll kind of walk you through the entire process of setting up your Facebook presence, whether you're going to set up a personal page, a business page, or both. When you get to this part of the journey through Facebook, and Facebook makes it fairly easy to set these things up, their goal is to get people on the platform. And the bigger they get, the more the company value goes up for Facebook. So as you're walking through, you're going to see a lot of menus like the one I'm showing you here, to help you kind of make the choices for how you want to set up. So you can, when you go to create a page, if you are a childcare provider, whether for or nonprofit, I would set that up as a business or brand, because you're trying to draw people in regarding services that you offer. And then there is an option for community or public figure. So that can be an organization. If you're an entity that just supports early childhood, that would be a good option to go. But if you are really engaged in operating a center, you want to be able to set that up as a business or brand. So a couple power tips just as you get started through that walkthrough process is it will give you the option to secure your username. So an example, just using March of Dimes here, it will make some recommendations, but what it will do is actually give you what's called a vanity URL, and it's basically facebook.com / and then you can put whatever you want to put in there. So let's say this was called Kelly Medwick's Childcare. I could actually have that as the URL, and that's a URL I can promote. Facebook ads. So I'll get a little bit more into that later on, but Facebook ads are fairly affordable. It's an easy kind of walkthrough process. And what's awesome is you can start at a really, really low investment level and just try it out and see if it works for you. Facebook has evolved way beyond the ad that you're seeing here. That's a pretty old clip art. I'm not sure why I haven't updated that lately. But what has happened is that if you are an advertiser on Facebook, your posts tend to get a lot more eyeballs in terms of showing up in people's feeds. So I'm not going to say you have to buy ads, because you don't. You could start small and build up your network, but ads early on can just kind of help you with raising awareness, and they can be pretty simple. And it allows you to also really micro target all the way down to, I know zip codes. I'm not sure if it's zip +4, but pretty tight targeting regarding who you want to build on. It's a nice way to start building up your channel. Update your cover photo every few months. So I know on my page, I think I haven't updated it in several years, but that's not a business page, it's a personal one. Before a business, back to that vitality point, it shows that this is a page that's being managed, that your business is online and relevant. A lot of people read into what's going on with your business just by looking at your Facebook page. So staying current and being updated frequently is really important. Configure your settings to encourage participation. Now, this is one that I advise one-on-one. And like I said, if I offer a 30-minute session, or if you reach out and take me up on a 30-minute session to talk to you, we can talk through this, because I think it's a very individual decision. But visitor posts obviously will increase your engagement. It will bring more people to your page. There are filters that you can set up and selections here that you can make to make sure that you can review the posts. If you can see this down here below, review posts by other people before they're published to the page. That can help you avoid any issues. And I'll talk in a little bit about how to set up your ground rules for your Facebook community, so that if you have to take a post down or take it offline, you've already established why you are doing that. And then if you're a nonprofit, you choose the nonprofit template option. And I have not done this for myself in quite a while, but if you are a nonprofit, there are tools and things like being able to run campaigns and take donations that are already built into the nonprofit template. So it's makes it a heck of a lot easier than not choosing that and then having to go back and try to add all of those options. With a business page, those things that are more relevant to a business are already kind of built in to the way that those pages will roll out. That's where you do it. And Facebook changes quite a bit, so I believe this is what it still looks like. It might look just a little different, but that's just something that you should look for when you're setting that up. And then consider trying new fundraising or biz dev strategies. So I just put an example in here that we know a lot of nonprofit entities have tried the $1 ask strategy. So you ask for $1 and people tend to give more. So obviously you want, if you're going to do a donor push or a sponsorship push, you want to get more than $1. But most of the time, if you're just asking at the lowest level on and soliciting donations on Facebook, people tend to give more than that. And it also makes it really easy for people to share it. You know, if it's asking for a lot more than that, people might be reluctant to share it. So you write, I've just added here, and you can please steal anything that you find from here if you feel like it's going to be helpful to you, but just some easy copy to help you write that kind of a post. So what is meaningful content? A lot of people wonder what really does it take to engage people. The most meaningful posts engage a user enough that they want to either comment or they want to share it. There is this tendency for people to just look at likes and think that they are the biggest indicator of success on social media. They're actually not. If you think about it, just your own use of Facebook, how easy is it just to hit the like button and move on? But how much more thoughtful do you have to be if you're going to make a comment or if you're going to actually share that content with your family, friends, and community? Those are the ones that really help build up your channel. That's what we're really attempting to do here. Is Facebook should become a channel for when you have information to communicate. The audience is already there, that you're not having to try to find that audience or build that. So the more meaningful your posts and your content can be, the more successful you'll be at building up that channel. And here's some organizations that you might just want to take a look at if you're trying to gauge what does meaningful content mean. I should add at some point a few new bullets here. You could also look at some national organizations that may have really engaging early childhood content, and you might even be following one now. Take a look at their posts and read what they offer and what they share. That will tell you a lot about what meaningful content really looks like, and you can reshare their posts as part of your social media plan. That's a really easy way to keep your audiences engaged. So we're going to pop over to LinkedIn for a second here, and then we're going to go back into talking just more about planning your social media content. But LinkedIn, I'm going to recommend everybody, if you're not there already, make sure that you have a LinkedIn profile. It's free to do. It's an easy thing to have and manage. And again, it's going to help you build a network. That's what we're really trying to establish with social media. First thing you want to do, so different than just having your own LinkedIn page as a professional, you also want to set up either a business or organization page, a company page. I believe there's only one type of company page, so whether you're for or nonprofit, it will be the same. And it's not unlike what you might already have set up on Facebook. This is just so that people can find you. And this is where, if you started to branch out and want to do some posts on Facebook and LinkedIn, that you'll be able to post through your company page. And here's just a couple of examples about that'll just show you kind of what the company page looks like as opposed to your personal profile page. And then there's some ways you can enhance your page. You can describe how you fulfill your mission as either a nonprofit or for-profit entity, how you can share photos and impact stories, and you can link to your website from there. And then what's great on LinkedIn is to be able to have that page and then ask a lot of your clients, employees, volunteers, supporters, anybody who's in your network to follow you and promote your business or organization. That's really why LinkedIn exists. It's for people to be able to share information about their business interests and their opportunities. I think for childcare providers, it also, if you're nonprofit, it could be a great way to connect with potential board members. If you are for profit, perhaps you reach out and look for sponsorships, maybe from local grocery stores, providers, etc. Or you might want businesses to make their employees aware of your existence. So this is a great channel to connect with professionals in that way. And if you, again, with nonprofit, if you are looking for potential volunteers, there's actually ways that you can specifically search for volunteers on LinkedIn. And then what you want to do is just start by linking with your established network. So if you're wondering like, I don't know anybody, you know a lot more people than you think you know. You can just look at employees, you can look at a board of directors, donors, volunteers, parents, businesses that you buy from. All of those can be connections of yours. So here I'm just showing an example. This is Claire Axelrod, who I just talked to. She's an amazing fundraising coach if anybody ever needs a great fundraising coach. She's somebody here who we've selected as somebody that we're going to connect with. And then that takes me right to her page, and it allows me to just hit connect. And what I always recommend is when you're trying to connect with people, if whether you know them really well or not, they have like pre-filled templated information. I would put a personal message just to not make it look like you're just trying to load up on connections. So personalize it a bit. And then join groups and participate in the conversation. That helps you, back to that thought leadership piece, establish yourself as an expert. So there's lots of groups on LinkedIn. You might find that there are lots of groups that are just focused on early childhood providers or business owners, small business owners. All of those different things where you're going to be able to learn from others and then also share your knowledge. That's a great way to build up your network just by helping one another. This is an example of a nonprofit professionals forum. So there's lots of these different forums that you can take a look at. Most of the time they have articles. They even have e-learning on LinkedIn now. So if you're really struggling to learn how to manage something or do something, you can find that there. And something cool that you may not know you can do, you can actually export your connections to from LinkedIn. So if you have a lot of contacts through LinkedIn, you can actually export them to a list so that you can manage that list in different ways. I wouldn't necessarily like blast out lots of emails to all of your LinkedIn contacts. But where it could be helpful is, let's say you were going to do an open house and you wanted to just know who's in my network. It'll allow you to kind of pull that list down and then work through it, make edits and changes, and then help you target who you're going to send that to. So it can be really useful. And this is just shows you the windows that you'll see. Just a quick word on Instagram. This is a couple of ways that I see people using it. Like I said, with nonprofit, it tends to have a lot of activity when it comes to fundraising campaigns. So personalizing thank yous. And if you don't know much about Instagram, it's a platform that is really focused more on images, so photography, and you can include copy and content with Instagram, but the real focus is on photos. So it's a way that a lot of people engage. I know a lot of, let's say Gen Y and Gen Z users who love Instagram because they don't like to take in a lot of information on their social media. They just like to see what's happening and what's going on. They're more visual, so they just prefer that platform. It tends to be good for events. If you are the type of organization that has a lot of events, it's a way to promote that. And it is popular amongst parents. So if you have a parent that's already in your network, it'd be great to ask them, why do you use Instagram? Would it be something of value? Most Instagram users also have a Facebook page. So how do you use both platforms? And that'll help you know exactly how they're using that. If you're a nonprofit, you might even be able to get someone to manage a little Instagram account for you, so that you don't have to also take that on. If you're a small business, it's pretty easy to set up an account, and you can also, anything that you post through Instagram, you can also simultaneously post to Facebook. So it's just all about, do you want to invest in a second platform? You might want to if you're finding a lot of your current parent clients or donors are already on there. So I have a lot of people ask me, how do you know whether to add somebody as a LinkedIn or a Facebook friend? So this is a little key that I like to use, and I use some cute little fuzzy animals here. So the way so if we're looking at the top left here, this dog and cat obviously know each other pretty well. They're pretty comfortable. If you would run across the street to say hi to somebody, I would consider that a Facebook friend. So it's somebody who you know and you would be able to have a pretty good conversation with. It doesn't have to be a best friend or anything like that, but somebody that you know on that level. For LinkedIn, I would say that's more, are you in my network? Are you in the sphere that I'm in? Do you know people that I know? Would I walk up to you if I saw you on the street and just say, hey, how are you doing? Good to see you. That's a LinkedIn friend, if that makes it any easier to determine. And I do have lots of people where I'm connected to them on both platforms. So that's acceptable as well. But LinkedIn, think of it like business networking. Facebook, think of it as human-to-human interaction, kind of almost a little bit of everything networking. So tips for optimizing your social presence. Number one, don't start doing social media without doing this step. I'm going to make everybody do this. Set goals. Again, if you want to do that 30-minute session with me, this is a great use of that. I can help you do this. What are you trying to get out of social media? If you don't set the goals ahead of time, you will probably let go of your social presence because you won't know why you're doing it after a while. You kind of get that hamster in a hamster wheel feeling. So this is a pretty aggressive set of goals here about targeted content with a business audience, increasing engagement with content that illustrates quality, These are, this is probably an organization that's a little bit further along than somebody who's just a startup or brand new. But you could even pick one or two of these. Receive at least blank number of inquiries about enrollment per month. I think that's a great goal. And then when you start to hit it, it will help you keep engaged with continuing your social media presence. 2, use great content. Kind of went through that, but 80% of your content should be about your people. This is not a news flash, but people love to hear about each other and themselves. That is the most popular kind of content. So try to keep a lot of your content really down to the personal level, and at kind of like your personal network level. 20% should be about your mission, or kind of communicate. Remember we talked about that brand building, things that inspire you, great videos that you want to share, research that you're seeing. Those are all great examples of that kind of content. Photos receive 53% more likes than a post, without, 104% more comments, and then 84% more link click-throughs than text-based post. So that just shows you how visual really helps with your engagement. Engage. So 55% of those who engage with organizations and businesses via social have been inspired to take further action. So again, that is that starting a conversation and going, sorry, I don't know why all of a sudden my throat dried out. Probably because I'm talking so much. To start that conversation with your audiences. Even if you don't decide to accept comments on your page, there are lots of ways, through messaging, through email, through leading people to a contact form on a website, that you can engage in conversation. So you don't have to feel like accepting comments is the only way to do that. There's lots of ways to engage in back and forth communication. 4 here is know your voice. So determine your brand's voice and tone and directly convey it on social media. So here's some questions to ask. Does your social media voice represent your brand? Are you more corporate or casual? Are you more humorous or inspirational? And is your voice appealing to your demographic? Again, people who like what you say and like how you say it are going to align with you, and they're going to follow you. And be transparent. So social media facilitates a personal relationship between the organization and the audience. So it's really important to establish trust in order to earn loyalty from anybody who's following you. What I really like to recommend is that a lot of people who work in the marketing business, if they are hired to manage an organization's Facebook page, they're actually called a community manager, if that helps you think through how you have to establish your Facebook page ground rules. You're basically saying, here's what we will do and here's what we will not do. I'm sure a lot of you guys have this already established for your childcare centers. Like, it's rules of conduct, basically. How are we going to treat each other? Like, for example, you could say, we will take down posts mentioning specific people and incidents, and we'll handle those directly. So, for example, you have somebody who wants to complain about something, or complain about another person or another child. You know, people do that. People are people. They don't change once they get on social media. In fact, they probably get a little bit worse. So being able to be upfront that you will evaluate those and you will take them down, or you won't allow them to post if they are focused on somebody specific or a specific incident. You've already laid it out there that that's what you're going to do. So if people start to then try to take over your page by being angry about that, you've already laid the ground rules, and they're simple. Always respond quickly to either positive or negative feedback, no matter what it is, no matter how you respond, if it's through Messenger or email, and be proactive. So if you see something starting to bud, or you see a conversation starting to kind of jump on board, now that's where you could start to think like, ugh, I do not have time to manage that kind of stuff. That's when setting up all of those initial rules of posting will be so important. And here's just an example of a community engagement setup that I recommended to someone. Be consistent. Posting consistently is key to staying top of mind and then gaining a large followership. So consistency, what that's all about is basically having a good plan and a calendar that'll help you post consistently. And believe it or not, you can either do this like 15 minutes a day, get your posts taken care of, or you can, I'll show you a couple tools where you can like plan it out for the whole month. What I always recommend, and I can give you a copy of this if you send me your email address, is actually plan out what you are going to share and what goes into which category, and do that for the next 3 months out. Just having this plan, it's kind of like, I always say, I've been on so many diets, I can't even count anymore. But if you make a plan ahead of time, you're more likely to stick to it. And then what fits in to those social media categories? So like I told you, I would consider every post you make to fall into one or three categories. It's either awareness, building your brand, or converting. So what goes into awareness? That could be updates about your center or your building or wherever that you provide services. It could be upcoming meetings. It could be you're hiring, or you have postings, or you're looking for volunteers, or there's enrollment dates, or you got recognized, accredited, those kinds of things. The brand building, that could be quick videos that you make or things that you find online. That could be do-it-yourself sharing. So, hey, we learned how to do this type of project today, and we'll share what we did. Photos of activities and narrative. Like I said, most providers have a release when people sign on. So if you have people who do not want children's photos shared, you'll just have to be really cautious about that when you are taking group photos and things like that. Common language explanations on quality, like that's a great thing that'll help you if that's important, something that you want to build brand around. And then just sharing the things that you read will communicate brand. And then conversions, that could be new client, getting people to respond to a post, subscriber promotions. Maybe you're selling some merchandise. Maybe a way to make money, you want to sell t-shirts with your childcare's brand on it. Everything that's going to fall into those, everything that you're going to post is going to fall into one of three of these categories. So, question, what is the worst thing someone could say about your organization online? The answer is nothing, because whether you're there or not, people tend to make comments about everything. And there isn't really anything that you can't manage. It's not that much different from your interpersonal experiences. But you always want to be careful about what you post, because trying to take stuff off the internet is trying to take pee out of the pool. If you have swimming facilities, you will know that that is impossible. So you just want to make sure that you always have a plan of how you're going to handle different online interactions via social media. So here's a couple of tools I wanted to show you. Hootsuite is one of the more popular platforms that allows you to pre-populate posts and actually have them deploy. So a lot of people ask me whether this is worth it or not. it depends on how busy you are and how serious you are about making sure that your social media stays updated. It can be a worthwhile investment. This is a crazy looking page, but this is for people who have actually are posting on more than just one platform. So you might be in a situation where you're only posting on Facebook, but you can still get some value out of Hootsuite. The thing about Hootsuite is I don't know if there's a free option anymore. I think that all of them, they have a limited free plan. There we go. So there might be one, but it'll really limit how many posts you can do and how many profiles or how many accounts you can manage. But if you're a small business, it might be a perfect fit for that. Then there's one called Buffer. There's tons of them. But if you Google either Hootsuite or Buffer, it'll show you all the different social media management tools that are available out there. So I think a lot of people I know used to use Buffer quite a bit. This one actually allowed you to even get specific to posting at different times every day. And then I'm pretty sure they had a pretty nice free starter plan as well. So most of them just want to get you on and get you using it so that you can eventually probably become a paid customer because you're doing so much more. So all of this I'm sharing with you, are you feeling buried? You might be at this point. But the important thing to remember is you want to keep this simple as possible. Remember the ABC. You're just there to create awareness. You want to share great content to build your brand, and you want to make it easy for people to take action and convert your visitors into people who become clients or donors or supporters, whatever you are looking for out there. So here's some action steps. Gave you a couple of tools to look at where you could evaluate either a current website or if you are creating a new website. You could take those tips, commit to being a thought leader and start calling yourself a thought leader because you are. Set up a Facebook page and connect with friends and followers. They're the best people to start with. Set up a LinkedIn company page and connect with a professional network. So everybody you know more people than you realize. Make a plan for every month, and I will give you my info so that you can get a planner and some ideas. Use at least one online engagement tool. Highly recommend that. And spend no more than 15 minutes a day on your social media. So don't think that this has to be hours and hours and hours a day. If you are already an active social media user, it's not that much different than your current interactions that you might do on your own individually in terms of your time investment. So what I'm going to recommend is email me. This is my Firespring.com email address to sign up for a free 30-minute social media planning session. I'm not there to sell you a darn thing. I just like to talk to people and learn more about what business challenges are. So you're feeding my head so that I become a better coach to others. And I already have tools that I can share with you if I know your specific challenges. So encourage you to reach out to me and set up a time. And there's email, also work phone. If you leave a voicemail, that all goes into a nice little email for me every single day, so I get through those. And then also connect with me because I am pretty frequent user of both Facebook and LinkedIn, and my network can become part of your network, and I would love it to. So that's our Q&A, and that's the end. Please reach out to me. And I hope to hear from lots of you. Thank you.